All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to talk about current events. Today's show is going to be packed. We're also going to talk about the passing of a fellow YouTuber. James Munder has passed. We'll talk about that later on tonight. And, of course, we're going to talk about everything that is happening, including the baby formula operation that is going to be put into play, and many, many other things, including what is happening all across the planet. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Sweet love, I hope it goes to the very top, to the very tippy top. Oh, yo, you already know. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a packed show for you. So just want to go over the basics. If you want to follow along, you can grab a second device, a tablet, or you can go back retrospectively and check our work today at our website, marfooglenews.com. Now, you can sign up for notifications over on marfooglenews.com. You can also follow along with all of our links. We make sure that if we show you a picture, a tweet, a video, a picture, an article, a document, it's going to be over on the website. Endgame emerging issues. When you click on this, you will find that we have every single link, article, document there. Again, it's very easy to navigate. Just look for today's thumbnail. And then once you get to the page, you will see a full bibliography of everything that we're going to show you. Now, also, there's a web-only content, a yellow bar. That is a warning, basically telling you this stuff is too hot for TV, too far to one direction, for us to cover and stay neutral, or the stuff that is just straight up outrageous. So that down there is absolutely, again, a reference and a really great place to go. It's all collected for you. And again, it's a resource that you need to use. Over on the right side, there are boxes. If you do want to support any of the affiliates and you don't know where they are or you forget the website, you can go over to that website of every show, and all of those boxes are our links. So you don't have to worry about remembering the link. You just click the box. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So just want to get this out of the way. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But again, I got very bad news, including a lot of people in our niche. Now, this niche in general, as far as everybody on YouTube, they argue, they fight, they debate, they don't like each other. Myself and James, as far as I know, he always liked me and I always liked him. Again, you don't know what's said behind closed doors, but he was always really nice to me. And again, I actually thought that he was extremely funny. I talked to him a lot for a short amount of time, and then about a year and a half went by. He was out of what I thought was his bad and his worst times. And again, a lot of people have been following his story, and many people do believe that he was being picked on by some greater power. Now, again, it's up to the individual to actually, make their judgment on that. What's sad is that a lot of his material is no longer on the platforms. They took a lot of it down. But if you have followed all the way through, there were some strange things that happened that were absolutely just, way out there. So if you don't know who I'm talking about, his name was James Munder. He apparently... And again, it seems to be confirmed now that he has passed in a car accident by LAX, and it was at about 3 to 4 in the morning, and my prayers go out to his family. I know they've gone through so much with James, and I know that James was in a lot of pain. He was the thing about James is the one thing I know is he was worried about who was actually his friend and who was his friend because he was a YouTuber. That was one thing that he communicated to me. And I think that the reason why we got along is because I didn't, ask him for anything, especially when he was at his peak. In fact, I believe that's when he kind of talked to me. And I just feel like that no matter how much drama that goes on in this niche between all these creators, and I've said this before, it's like you'll go on a panel of 6 people and one will drop out because they're like, well, I won't do stuff with this other person, or I won't do stuff with this person, not because I don't like that person, but because they have done stuff with this person. And it's just it's a bunch of drama. And a lot of that has been going away. A lot of the creators have been coming together again. My honest opinion is that we all need to come together because all of us could be James one day. All of us will be James one day. And we all need to stick together. And when one of us goes through hard times, we need to push each other up, not push each other down. No matter what, if he was going through rough times, we have all gone through rough times. We should have been the first ones to be there to push him up. It's even harder to push people up when they push you away, but sometimes that's kind of like when you need to push harder. So I hope that he is in a better place if this is true. Again, I still don't want to believe it because it's kind of a shock type of thing. He's had close calls before, and we found out that it wasn't what it was. But it seems like this one is the real deal. Hopefully that this isn't some horrible mistake. So I will be doing a moment of silence at the end of the show, but I just wanted to let people know a lot of people are hurt by it. Even if you haven't followed him for a while and you used to, a lot of people have followed this guy because he has been around for a very long time on YouTube. He's had peaks, he's had lows, but still he's a human being and he had struggles, and he's not going to be forgotten. I've mentioned him so many times because he was so funny, and he the way he did things, he wasn't even intentionally funny. He could make people laugh, and not laugh at him, laugh with him. Like he would genuinely be. He's one of those people that that make you laugh and they don't even try, because his sense of humor and the way that he does things. So again, I am absolutely. It's torn up. I wish I would have talked to him more in the last year, but that's how it goes. And yeah, I did call, and his message machine was still there, and it was full, obviously, because probably everybody's calling him. And I'm just hoping it's not true, and I hope that if it's not true, that he gets better. If it is true, that he is in the right place. All right, and then to get right into the news, we've got Chinese hackers tried to steal American defense data. It says the campaign detailed a cybersecurity firm highlights Beijing increasingly sophisticated tactics to spy on an array of targets, including countries it considers friends. Now, remember, all of these subjects, you can give us a call at 224-400-MARF. This is a call-in show, so remember, you can call in if you want to say something, again, about anything we talk about today, or if you want to say goodbye or anything else, you can do that as well. Give me a call at 224-400-MARF. And then we have, it says the emails landed on March 23rd in the inboxes of scientists and engineers at several of military research and development institutes, purportedly sent by Vladim's Ministry of Health. It says they carried a subject line of offered seemingly tantalizing information about a, quote, list of persons under U.S. sanctions for invading UKR. It says, but the emails were actually sent by state-sponsored hackers in G-land, seeking to entice their Vladian targets to download and open a document with malware, according to a new report that was released Thursday by the American cybersecurity firm Checkpoint. So realize I always look at where the source is and where is it's coming from. In today's world, Ganda is pretty much coming from every corner of the planet. I have pointed out that almost every piece of information about Vlad now is coming from UKR. It's tonight. In tonight, there's probably, I think, 3 different examples of this where the world is getting their information from a UKR source about what is actually happening with Vlad, right? It's not exactly, if there's a girl at high school and she absolutely has an arch nemesis, this other girl she doesn't like, you're not exactly, if you're going to go hire that girl, are you going to ask her arch nemesis for their opinion on them? Probably not. But again, that's what the whole world has done, and they're trusting all of the information coming out of it. As far as this goes, it says the report provides new evidence of the Xi efforts to spy on Vlad, pointing to the complexity of the relations between the two countries that have also drawn closer in solidarity against the U.S. It also underscores the sprawling and increasingly sophisticated tactics that Xi's cyber spies have used to collect information on an ever-expanding array of targets, including countries it considers friends like Vlad. So I take all of this with a grain of salt. I totally believe that they're spying on each other, probably paranoid that that their friendship is as close as it is. But also this could be information to try to separate them or to make them hate each other or to cause a rift between them. I know that kind of stuff happens between the U.S. and other countries as well. It says, despite the growing global outrage over Vlad's conflict in UKR, Xi has refused to criticize Moscow and has echoed the Ganda coming out of Vlad country to depict the U.S. and NATO as aggressors in the conflict. But Checkpoint's research showed that despite the country's deepening ties, Xi appeared to view Vlad as a legitimate target for the theft of sensitive military technological information. Well, of course they do. The one thing that their specialty is taking information. They're very stealth. Most people don't realize this, but they are some of the smartest information thieves out there. And we know this. This isn't a theory. This is proof. I mean, they've taken some of the most advanced technology from the U.S. and we know it. Our jet blueprints, they took that from us, and we caught them in it. So I mean, there's certain things, and that's kind of their, I guess, their spy language, right? Their love language, only their spy language. They are more subtle. They are down, and they're very covert about what they do. They use hacking a ton. In fact, they're one of the only countries that has a 1 million-man army, strictly digital. They have people that are paid just to be a person online, so that they can sway different things online. And now there's plenty of proof of that. They even have cell phone farms and all sorts of different things going on. What do you think about this? Give me a call at 2244006273. That number is scrolling down below right here. Make sure to get in as soon as possible. Susan Donahue says Munder kept it real. That's right. Munder was brutally honest. He did not. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, can anyone say that he didn't just put it all out there? He may have been. I think the only information he didn't tell right was the stuff that he was, maybe denying or something. I don't know. But other than that, he was brutally honest. And then Your Angel in Flesh and Sackcloth Prophet, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate that. Bible Talk 777, thank you for subscribing as well. And it says, this is for at Anon. It's the first time he's given to anything. Oh, that's sweet. And then Physician Seth Trollins, thank you for subscribing. And then Eduardo Chavez, thank you for subscribing. William Hedrick, I appreciate the sub. And then thank you, Dat 101 and Forever Young Damn Royalty. Thank you for subscribing. So as far as their kind of infiltration here, we'll be following it. And then U.S. scores another hypersonic missile success, or so they say. It says, what does that mean for the arms race? It said that Lockheed Martin and the U.S. Air Force announced It says that they announced the successful test of an air-launched hypersonic missile on Tuesday, making it a notable shift from 3 previous failures from the same program. This is now the 3rd successful U.S. test of a hypersonic weapon since September. Lockheed Martin's AGM-183A air-launched rapid response weapon, or ARROW, was launched from the wing of a B-52H Stratofortress off the coast of Southern California on May 14th. Per the Air Force release, it said once launched, the weapon's booster ignited, carrying ARROW to a higher altitude and hypersonic speeds for an expected duration. Of course, they don't tell you the duration because that's, I think, believed top secret, right? How fast it actually went. It said the test team made sure we executed this test flawlessly. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Jungquist said. It says our highly skilled team made history on this first air-launched hypersonic missile weapon. We're doing everything we can to get this game-changing weapon to the warfighter as soon as possible. So one thing to think about, and I'm sure that they're making other countries think that we already have this, or maybe they're saying that we have secrets that they don't know about. We probably do have secrets they don't know about. One thing I wonder, though, is if it is true that we really were behind in hypersonics, you would think if there ever was to be, a first strike, it would be before we had the ability to strike back. If it was true that Vlad and, of course, Xi had these kind of weapons before us, you would think that that would be the time to strike if they knew we were within a year or 6 months or 2 years of actually having the technology ourselves. There's only a short little window where it seems like they would have the advantage. But I don't know if that would be the truth, since now even Pentagon officials have said that Xi has basically stepped forward way ahead in technology and AI. So that's pretty scary as far as the fact that he said, and especially in the AI arena, if Xi has gotten above us and further than us in that arena, it's very hard to catch up because you're always going to be steps ahead. So not a very good thing. Also, that is on the tail of us covering that they just did one of their quantum computing tests, and I guess it blew our quantum computers out of the water. This is all again, partly it could be speculation or it could be lying. We don't know. But as far as this goes, I'm sure that this is something that many people needed to hear because a lot of people were probably nervous the fact that we did not have these things. If you have an opinion about it, give me a call, 224-400-MARF. I also want to say a really, really big thank you to Keith A. Thank you for your support over on PayPal. And thank you, Natasha F. And Three City Cats. And Corey N. this week. You guys, just so you know, I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for your support. Michael D., Claire LM, Dawn B., Tracy Q. We will be doing something special for you guys. I appreciate it. Again, Keith A., thanks for the PayPal. Natasha F., Three City Cats, and Bible Talk 777, Corey N. Thank you guys. And Fluffy from last week, thank you. And Peter S. And then it says that President B invokes Defense Production Act Operation Fly formula. So, sounds a little weird, by the way, Operation Fly formula. It says that President B invoked the Defense Production Act to address the Wednesday... I'm sorry. And, of course, I can read, I promise. President B invoked the Defense Production Act to address the Wednesday... That is what it says. And directed his administration to use Defense Department aircraft to pick up overseas infant formula that meets U.S. health and safety standards to address the formula shortage. So a lot of people didn't know about this until this last week when it has been going big. We have actually been covering this for now multiple weeks. And, of course, I Have Babies, we have a subscription kind of service. And with, like, Earth's Best... You can actually, we've been a part of it for 2 years, so you pay and you get it in bulk and it comes once a month. But even our formula has been actually 2 weeks behind at times. Luckily, we always did the package to where we would always have extra. And we knew this was coming. We were warned last year, and we talked about this last year, about how they talked about baby formula possibly being shortage. And we knew this since the beginning of CV, when everybody bought up baby formula. When there was nothing on the shelves, people thought it was the end of the world. So people were actually buying baby formula as a prep supply because of the proteins and the things that are in it. So we knew about this, and we actually told you guys to stock up on baby formula before this happened. And of course, a lot of people did not. Now, if you go to your Walmart or your Targets, you'll see it's just empty. There will be, you'll see a couple things there, but they're not actually formula. They're like an additive, or there's some bottle of liquid stuff that you add in, or it's a liquid smoothie or something. It's not actually something that can, help a baby survive. Even my friend Nick, he didn't know about it until just last night when my other buddy Dave was telling him about it, and it's really something that you wouldn't notice if it's not something that you need. But when you do need it, and when you go and see that shelf, those shelves are just empty. This is a big deal. I mean, Marjorie Green, I believe, Taylor Green went up and said this huge speech that has now gone viral, basically saying, we have $40 billion for this country, we have $8 billion for this country, we have this. And after every one, she goes, but we don't have baby formula for our babies. We have this, we have tanks for this, but we don't have baby formula for our babies, and so on. She went on, on 20 different things and said, we don't have baby formula. So that obviously has put pressure on, and now they're doing Operation Fly Baby, or Operation Fly Baby. Operation Fly Formula was such an original name there for an operation, because they're flying the formula. Operation Fly Formula. They actually sat in a room and said, yeah, that's it. That's the one. So as far as this goes, what do you think about this? Is there anything that we should be looking at? Is there something we're missing here? Is there something weird about all of this? Probably. It says the president is requiring suppliers to direct needed resources to infant formula manufacturers before any customer who may have ordered that good. It said the White House said directing firms to prioritize and allocate the production of key infant formula inputs will help increase production and speed up in supply chains. The White House has also announced the launch of its new program, Operation Fly Formula. I think that's Operation FF, if I'm not mistaken. It says to speed up the import of infant formula to get more formula to stores in the United States as soon as possible. The president directed the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Agriculture to use the Department of Defense, that's where the Department of Defense comes in, commercial aircraft to pick up overseas infant formula that meets U.S. health and safety standards so it can get to store shelves faster. Why are we in the shortage in the first place? Well, partly because of recalls, and partly because a lot of things have just been coming out lately about this formula. So I would highly recommend going to our web only for the last week and go over some of those articles and some of the accusations that are out there. Pretty crazy stuff. What do you think about it? Let me know on the comments below. Or give us a call at 224-400-MARF. All right, now hold on here. Let's see. All right, let's go over here. All right. And we have Geneva Airport. This is spooky. Multiple explosions and blaze rock building close to the runway as flights are diverted. Now, this is, of course, in Switzerland, and a huge explosion rocked the airport. As you can see, there's the smoke, the billowing smoke with the plane actually taking off right by it. It says a huge fire has broken out at Geneva Airport after a building near the runway exploded, it was reported. Multiple explosions were heard and black smoke was seen spewing from a reception center for asylum seekers being built in the Swiss cities. Now, Dex, I know that you're getting people on the phone, but this is, again, the fire was in a new reception for asylum seekers. This is pretty wild stuff. It says there is a building, a new reception center for asylum seekers, which was under construction, said airport spokesman Ignace Generat. It says it is on fire. It is outside the airport perimeter. It is creating a lot of smoke. The explosions came from 5 gas canisters at the site. Flames spread from the top floor of the building where insulation work was being done. It says 10 gas canisters remain at the site, and there are concerns that they could explode as well. Around 50 firefighters tackled the blaze, and there were about 15 engines at the site. There are no reports of any perished or injuries, and one person was taken to the hospital suffering from shock. Basically couldn't believe it. The airport has suspended landings for the time being, while takeoffs are being left to pilots' discretion. So they're basically saying, if you want to take off, it's up to you. So pretty nuts. It says the airport arrivals board shows incoming flights from Lisbon, Barcelona, and Madrid have been diverted, whilst others were delayed. Geneva is Switzerland's second busiest airport after Zurich. The runway is next to the border with France. Later, the airport said that the landings and takeoffs were suspended at 5:35 p.m. local time. The fire was brought under control about 6:30. So, is there something strange going on as far as what this is about? Is this related to any of the current events? As we know, it's very close to France. Is there any sort of thing here that people should be looking at? Let me know. Adam at marfooglenews.com. Do you have something that may be in connection to this? DM me on Twitter at Marfoogle and let me know. And then Dex. I'm going to pop open the screener and see what we have. Again, it looks like, let's see here. Looks like we have a line on the back end. If you want to call in, 224-400-MARF. Again, if you're a first-time caller and you've never called before, this would be the day. If people say, okay, thank you. All right, we have Christian, first-time caller, kindness and PSYOP against the world to divide us. Ohio, calling from Ohio. Well, you get Christian on. It looks like he needs to pop in. I do want to remind you, if you do not, if you have not checked out an Energy solar generator yet, it is the last day of the sale. There was a sale going on for about a week and a half, and then that ended, and there was so much request, they actually extended it another week. So this is the official last day of the sale on Energy. The reason why is, first of all, these are some of the most coveted devices in the country right now, especially the Energy modular systems here. And they have not had discounts before this sale. So again, this is $100 off of the main unit, and there are some different kits that are $150 off. You'll want to go check their website for that. If you go to marfooglenews.com/energy and use the code Marfoogle, you should be able to get that. If you have any problems, again, let them know, and I'm sure they will take care of you. Again, marfooglenews.com/energy. But remember, today is the 20th, so this is the last day for that sale. Make sure to get in there if you can. We do not know if they will have another one. And that's for real. Most companies do a lot of these, but with the technology that this uses, it's coming from other countries, which right now we are at odds with. So again, make sure to get in there quick. What this is a modular system. When you buy a normal kind of built-in solar generator, that means the battery is built in, and when that battery degrades or dies, you're done. This one, the main unit is separate. It is not, there's no power to it without the battery. It stacks on top of the batteries, and in fact, you can extend it up to 96 batteries. In 5, 10 years, however many years, if the battery does eventually degrade, you can always replace it. You can just replace the battery instead of replacing the whole unit. Or if you need more power, you can actually expand that out and give yourself more time. Now, you can go to marfooglenews.com/energy. Not only can you get a solar generator, which again, you don't have to have solar panels to charge it as long as you have power, but in an SHTF, hitting the fan situation, if you have solar panels, you are able to charge this. And again, you can get all sorts of mods and add-ons. Again, this would be a power solution for you. Remember, this is silent. There is no noise, and it does not put any gases off. So you can put this inside your house. No one will know you have it. Especially if something hits the fan, you will not want a loud engine going on in the backyard. Plus, think about it. Gas is going to be almost unattainable. That's marfooglenews.com/energy. That helps support us. At the same time, right now, for the next 24 hours, you will get a discount. So get over there and do it. All right, and then Dex. Let's see here. We've got Christian, first-time caller, talking about PSYOPs against the world.
Hey, Adam.
Christian, you're live. What's going on?
All right. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time. And there are a great many people who very much appreciate everything you and Dex and the mods and everybody do. So I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do. And hopefully what I'm about to talk about doesn't come out as a mishmash of just complete nonsense, because I'm a little nervous.
No worries.
The powers of the world. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, just go ahead and speak your mind.
All right. The powers of the world have executed a very effective operation against not just the people of America, but the people of the world, in getting us to argue and fight about literally everything. Anything and everything that they can divide us on, they have divided us on, and even the best of us have fallen suit to it. Families don't talk to families, friends don't talk to friends. Everybody is so certain that they know exactly what's happening and where and when and by who, and nobody really knows the full truth. Everybody's got little pieces of it. So all the people that you think are dead wrong might have a little piece of the truth. The problem is we spend so much time in opposition to each other and ignoring the kindness and love that will move the world forward, that becomes basically paramount to their goals. You're feeding into their goals when we hate and when we fight and when we argue. I've been watching you guys for a very long time, since you were doing videos in your car, and I've loved every minute of it. People talk about fear porn. That's all nonsense. Just ignore that. Just ignore that. Prepping is something that 100 years ago was completely normal. You should have a little extra food, a little extra water, the tools to do the things you need to do, should you need to do them. In the end, I'd very much rather have something and not need it than need something and not have it. But at the same point, we can help each other with that too. And that's one of the main things I always loved about the Foogle family. I really miss the groups we used to have, and it's sad that they took all that down. But people need to stand with their friends and stand with their family, even the people who disagree with you, even the people who push hate in your direction. That's fine. When stuff finally comes push to shove, be the guy people can stand with. Don't stand against people. And that's really what it comes down to. That's mostly what I really wanted to say. Love is always the answer. Condemnation is never the answer. And as much as we think we have all the answers, we don't. We don't really know what's happening in its entirety.
I think one of the easiest things to do is hate. That's why so many people have fallen into it, and it's much harder to love somebody, especially when you disagree. It's much harder to, if you don't see eye to eye, it's actually it's quite honorable for you to get over the eye to eye part and to still love them, and that's why it's just we're going to have some sort of event, I promise you, where both sides are going to throw away all of that, and who knows, that may be manufactured. And unfortunately, maybe this is to divide us.
More than likely.
So it brings us together in the end for somebody else's kind of ploy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember always that worrying, every time you're worrying, you're just praying for that which you don't want. That's what worrying is. So we're not worried about things. We're trying to be informed. Pay attention to your surroundings, to the people in your surroundings, to the things that are happening around you, whether it be in the news or at your local Walmart. Just keep your eyes open. Everybody says keep your head on a swivel. That's good advice. Pay attention. And loving somebody doesn't necessarily have to mean agreeing with everything they say. It just means take care of each other. You're going to need people.
Well,
right around the corner.
So, Christian, here's a good way to look at it. And people have made comments like, "Oh, all you talk about is this negative stuff," or "You're always, this is always a shock thing, right?" Well, first of all, if somebody goes and they will actually pay somebody to be their coach at a gym, and what does that coach do? The coach constantly pushes them up and says, "Hey, you need to watch your diet. You need to keep pushing. You need to keep pushing." The same goes with prep. You'll never be fully prepped. And if somebody needs to hold fire to your feet, That's us. I mean, we're telling you every single day, you're not ready. You're not ready. No one is ready. Even some of these guys, Survival Living and Magic Prepper and some of the most the biggest preppers on Canadian Prepper, they're not fully ready. You would say Canadian Prepper would be because he's got a whole warehouse, but guess what? What if he's not at his warehouse? What if he doesn't have things in his other spot where he's at? None of us are going to be prepared if there's a bad event. There's always going to be holes in every scenario. That's why you see on like Naked and Afraid and all these extreme kind of survivalist shows is there's always a way to poke a hole in it. Even the rich that have already hired Navy SEALs to watch their nuclear silo thing. Well, guess what? If the money has no value, these are the questions they went and asked. The most elite people in the world brought a gentleman into this guy has now gone public on it. 5 of the richest people in the world went to him and said, well, how do we keep our Navy SEALs there if money has no value? How are we going to keep them securing our sites if now the money we're paying them to do it has absolutely no value? And it's a good part. It's like that pokes a hole in even the richest, most elite's protection thing. It's like, well, if the whole thing is you're paying them $1 million a year to be their security, but $1 million a year is worth nothing, then how are you going to get them to stick around? There's always going to be a hole. So that's how I look at it. And people that say, oh, this is fear this, it's like they don't need to be watching this. This is for people that are already thinking this on their own, and they can find other people that are thinking the same thing. That's what YouTube is about too. This is what platforms are about. We get to find our crowd and our people and the people that we relate to, just as people go to a volleyball club to go play volleyball with people that like playing volleyball. We like knowing what's going to happen next, and we're all Sherlock Holmes, and we're all trying to figure it out. Just as people, that all are in fan clubs of crime shows or this or that. It's like this is what we like to do, and we feel better. This makes our lives easier because we know if something bad happens, we'll have a better chance in it. And most of us firmly believe it is going downhill. And unfortunately, we're right. So thanks, Christian.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Unfortunately, something bad's always going to happen. Always. Could be a tornado or an earthquake or whatever. Something bad's always going to happen. And I feel like the richest people among us are actually the least prepared because the amount of stuff you have, you'll never have everything, just like you said. Community is where you'll have support, and support is how you win battles.
Absolutely. And yeah, as far as the Discord, it's really sad about that. So many of the new people don't know, but we had groups in every single state that were meeting in person, some as large as 150. And they were meeting in person. They were talking about prep and mostly just talking about anything, just hanging out, doing barbecues, doing parties. And what happened is right before when we all dropped things in the box, they closed us down and they said that there was misinformation on that platform. Well, we never shared anything. So we didn't, as a channel, we just put rooms for people to hang out in. And they were saying that it was a hub for this stuff, but we never actually shared things. So at the very least, they should have kicked the people out that were sharing the information they didn't like. But instead, they actually shut down the entire thing. When Dex or I, we didn't post things. We didn't post stories there. We had our website for that. As far as this goes, it was, Washington, Oregon, California. It was all these state groups, and people were just using the service for what it is. They were exchanging information, chatting and things, and the stories that they were exchanging were probably, whatever internet stories they found. I'm sure there were stories that were like, fact-checked on Snopes and said that they were wrong. So they took that and they took the whole thing down. But what they also took down is that people were meeting in person, and these were all really great people. And there were people on the left, people on the right. There were people of all different kinds there. We had a room for everything, and it was really sad, and it was wrong. And that's why I ask you guys, like, the people that do understand and support and do these things, it's like we want to grow, and we need you to share our stuff because we need to have a bigger pull. If you look, people like Russell Brand, they've got such a big pull that they can talk about things that we can't, because if they try to shut them down, it will make an even bigger deal. So I thank everybody that's, that's sharing us out and keeping us big. Also, if we did make our own platform, we would be directly responsible for anything that people did. So then it would be very easy to take something that somebody else put in one of our platforms and say, oh, well, they're responsible for it, and then boom, we're gone. So it's a conflict. Yeah. It's a war, basically. So thank you, Christian. I appreciate you calling in today, and I wish there was more. I wish there was more that here. It's just time will heal all, and that's what I feel about that subject. So thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Well, Christian, you have a wonderful day from Ohio. That was Christian. I miss it too. I know mods put their whole lives into it. Jay Stone and everyone else that helped, keep that thing running. It's rough. All right, and then emergency. Mr. W to the H to the O meeting over monkeypox spread. We should take it seriously. So if you've watched the show, if you're new here, you wouldn't know, but we've been going over this for 2 weeks, way before any of the big mainstreams have been covering this, and now the world is actually covering this. This is from news.com.au. It says the organization is reportedly convening an emergency meeting to discuss the alarming spread of the killer monkeypox around the world. It says the United Nations Health Authority is bringing together leading experts on the rare disease as a number of new countries announced their first confirmed cases on Friday. Again, today there were new cases around the world. Remember, DOD just invested $7.5 million on some of that stuff. And I bet you that's not even enough to do whole countries. That's enough to, do the people that matter, I would assume. It says 11 countries, including Australia, U.S., Spain, and Italy, have now detected monkey. And in the first global outbreak of its kind. Is this the next CV? I hope not. I really do. But this is why we follow this stuff every step of the way. People needed to be stocked up and prepped up long before this. I hope that this is one of these, things that just fizzles out. Like most of you, we just hope it literally turns into nothing. It says in the UK, the number of cases of monkeypox doubled on Friday. Now remember, this is one of the worst ones, smallpox. The different pox, kind of the families of this. In 2019, there was a huge investment. Before all of this stuff happened, it was over $2 billion was invested over 10 years in the protections for smallpox. And if you know, smallpox has been eradicated since 1981. Worldwide. Has disappeared. It was only in 2 different locations, which I don't get why people aren't talking about this. Why aren't the reporters saying, why did you invest $2 billion in protection from something that doesn't exist? Well, apparently the stuff for this actually covers both, right? The $2 billion, does it actually cover things like this and the other pox family of this? And remember, I'm actually being careful because watch, in 3 months from now, 4 months from now, they'll be able to go through all of people's old stuff and say, you talked about this. This may become the next hot thing, which they won't let people talk about. Because if it does get bigger, it's only going to be authoritative sources that will be able to speak. So this is why it's very important right now that most people kind of get their head straight and figure out what could be happening here. Hopefully it's a small chance that this turns into anything. But that's why we look at things from a prepper standpoint. It is now being pushed very hard by news all over the planet that this is spreading. Now remember, they have told us and telegraphed that the next one may come from a bird, and that these were officials, that it would come from some other animal, right? And now we have this going on. DOD, within days of this, invested $7.5 million in protections from this. So what is going on here? The main concern is how this is usually concentrated in West Africa may be spreading, with many of the new cases detected in people who had not recently traveled to Africa. We got to figure out the three-letter agency there will be examining why clusters include GAY and BY men. The paper said, with the U.S. Centers for Disease and Prevent and British and Australian authorities issuing similar warnings. There are two main strains of this pox, the Congo strain, which is more severe with up to 10% mortality, and the West African strain, which has a fatality rate of about 1%. Congo strain, this is straight out of a movie. This is out of Outbreak, right? It says the rare disease often manifests through fever, muscle aches, swollen lymph nodes, chills, exhaustion, and chickenpox-like rash on the hands and face. So what's kind of scary about this is the size of these pox, right? And what it is. It's a scary thought to think about that you'll see people on the streets with bumps all over them, and you see like a dystopian, horror movie. But most of the other symptoms are, same stuff you would get with a typical cold or something, right? Swollen lymph nodes, chills, exhaustion, fever, muscle. Only difference is this has got gross pustules with it. And it can be transmitted through contact with skin lesions and droplets of contaminated person, as well as through shared items such as bedding and towels. Just a prediction, what if these people slept on the same hotel bed or something? They'll say, hotels need to shut down worldwide because of this, right? So we've talked about the first European case. We've talked about all of the other cases. The cases have doubled in the UK. The reason why we tell you about this is so you're not caught off guard by it. This is most definitely something that needs to be paid attention to, especially when they're quietly buying protections for it. And not enough to get us all, just enough to protect the main people. Next.
Well, yeah, Adam, looking back at the past, like with CV and stuff, when we were talking about things in December, we reported on things in December and into January in the early stages, right? And we didn't know if anything was going to come of it. We didn't know how big it was going to be, but we started to see the signs, right? And that's sort of what we're doing here is we're trying to report on this information because it is in its infancy, and it could end up being not much. It could end up being a big deal. And if it does end up being a big deal, you want to be ahead of the curve, right? And a lot of people thanked us and thanked each other, because it wasn't just us, it was the whole family that was, sharing and talking about this stuff early, like, January, before everyone was running off to stores and making, big changes and things that most of the family here knew, and they were prepared. And that's what's important here.
Okay. So when all the shelves were empty, that was like in February, I believe. So many of you watched. I went to the first U.S. case. I went in person to the hospital where they were. I did drone footage of the hospital. Again, Dex, you remember that? You helped me edit the footage. I did drone footage of the hospital. I asked nurses around, and that footage is still up, by the way. And one of the nurses remember they said the first patient had only 3 contacts, and there were doctors that came in full gear. Otherwise, that patient, they told us, that was the first CV patient was being served by robots. They said that there was an actual robot that went into the hospital room to give him food or to bring his plates of stuff. Fast forward, then it was a world ordeal. So I want you to know this looks very eerily similar. Like eerily similar. In fact, before that happened, there was a huge purchase of protections. And somehow within like a year, they said, we already have something ready, and everybody started taking it. So just pay attention. Get your stuff Get your ducks in a row for a rainy day. Don't make reasonable decisions. Make smart decisions. Don't buy prep or a generator if you haven't paid rent. But you should be setting aside something every week if you can. When you go to the grocery store, get an extra gallon of water for $2. Just every single time you go, and don't touch that gallon. Put it away somewhere. Put it in your backyard. If you're in an apartment, stack up a closet. Make yourself a little wood shoe rack and put some waters in there. Get extra food. Buy an extra can of food, even if it's $5 a week. People will prove this to you. Alaska Prepper does a great job with his payday preps. Every other Friday, because he worked a normal job, he would do a video basically telling you, like, hey, I'm putting this much, just a little tiny percentage, and here's how I'm spending it. He would show you how to do cheap rice, cheap this, cheap that, and how to preserve it. So make sure to go over to him and Survival Living and Magic Prepper and all these guys that are telling you how to do this. We have a whole network of people that are really, really, really smart in that area. So make sure to go do that and just take it seriously. These are the same this is the same pattern. And watch, in the future, sadly, we'll say, hey, we told you so. And people will go, oh, you don't say you told us so. Well, you just want to pat yourself on the back. No, we want people to be safe. President B set to arrive in SK with worries growing over possible NK missile test. These kind of stories, it's like it just replays and replays and replays, and people get sick of it. The one thing, this is the boy who cries wolf, right? NK. They always say that they're going to do something or going to do something or going to do something, and everybody worries about it like they will. The only thing the reason why we really push this is because at one point, I think that it won't be crying wolf. Something is going on with NK, and we know that they have super EMP weapons. We know that they've been testing for 15 years, and now they are teamed up with Vlad, they're teamed up with Xi, and they're teamed up with some pretty evil people. They may be the tool or the puppet of somebody else. We don't know, but they have been testing like crazy. January, they did 7 tests. In February, they did a test, I believe, and then in March, April, May, they've done more. So why are they worried about the tests? Well, maybe something more is to come at some point. President JB arrives here on Friday on a mission to reaffirm a key alliance in uncertain moment in East Asia, even as the conflict in UKR has preoccupied Washington and took up the first half of President B's day before he departed for provocations from NK have intensified, and Xi continues flexing its economic and military might. President B wants to show his top partners here he can focus both eastward and westward, and that the United States has resources to help and uphold democracy and sovereignty across the world. The stakes have ratcheted higher by the threat of a nuclear or missile test from NK. The prospect looms over President B's stop in Seoul, where he was planning on touting economic partnership and security ties alongside the country's newly elected Prez. It says that U.S. intelligence assesses that NK may now be getting ready to fuel an intercontinental ballistic missile, one of the key final stages in preparing for a test launch. According to U.S. official familiar with the latest information, a possible fueling of a missile would mean that NK could conduct a test launch while President B is in South Korea. Once a missile is fueled, launch usually comes quickly due to the risk of leaving a missile full of thousands of pounds of fuel on a launcher. So basically they're saying that if that does happen, if they're fueling it, that they're most likely going to test it. And with the timing of this whole visit, one scary thing would be if they actually took that and took out President B or something, right? That would be a freaky thing that nobody would ever forget, right? But Dex, what do you think about the timing of all of this? Like him visiting, and then of course them telling us that they're fueling it up.
Yeah, there's a lot that could happen here. I mean, it could be, like you said, something that NK does and actually targets that, or it could just be that they do a test just to flex, Okay, and that could be a nothing.
They've done it before.
Could happen. They've done it before, or it could actually be a test that gets spun into an event that then causes a lot of action on the south side against the north side, given the heightened level of security, right? So there's all sorts of ways this could spin. It's not a good thing, but we'll have to pay attention over the weekend as what happens here.
Yeah, we'll be following this, and hopefully nothing big comes of it. But it's like when you're covering all of this kind of stuff, and there's just so many worldwide threats. At some point, I don't get why people don't realize that something bad could come of this. By the way, Stephen B. Wilder, thank you so much for doing a PayPal during the show. Says, love you guys, and thank you so much for your shout out to the Munder. Rest in peace. I knew him personally, and he was a great guy. He helped me a lot through phone calls. Hey, I really I am sorry for everyone's loss here. I mean, I talked to him too. He cracked me up. Thank you for your support over on PayPal. I appreciate that. And again, yeah, it's just a really rough time for a lot of people, that, especially the ones that, a lot of people were with him through the highs and lows, and people really cared about him. He was very, just be honest, he was paranoid about who was his friend and who wasn't, and people stuck with him through thick and thin because, they wanted him to know that they cared. A lot of people wanted him to know that they did care about him. He was constantly had to be reassured that people were his friends. So really, really sad scenario. And then as President B visits Asia, Xi launches South China Sea drills. Xi is holding military exercises in the disputed South Sea, coinciding with the U.S. President JB's visit to South Korea and Japan, that are largely focused on countering the perceived threat from Beijing. Maritime Safety Administration Office in the Southern Islands province of Hainan said that the drills began Thursday and will continue through Monday. It said other aircraft and vessels will be prohibited from entering the area, but gave no further details. It said that Xi claims, and again we say Xi instead of that for a reason, claims that the South China Sea virtually in its entirety and the crucial waterway has become a potential flashpoint for conflict in Asia. The U.S. does not take a foreign position on the sovereignty issue, but it insists that the right to operate freely in the sea and frequently sails warships close to militarized Xi-held islands in the area in what are termed freedom of navigation operations, which we've covered a million times, where they've kind of butted heads and they've come really close. They've done, close, the same thing that they do. We've seen Xi come close to our islands. Of course, right now we've got surveillance ships right outside of Hawaii, 10 miles off the coast. So they all do this, but it does get pretty scary at times. Now, Dex, I want to ask you real quick. So, first of all, any one of these could turn into something bigger. And that's, again, why we cover these, because any drill or any exercise could therefore turn into kind of cover for moving troops around everything else. They just recently did a surrounding of the island with their Navy. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is sort of status quo for envoys and other people of significance that are showing up in, like specifically in Taiwan. When they go to Taiwan, they've always turned around and immediately done a drill. So part of this is status quo in the sense that, he's coming over here, so we're absolutely going to be doing some sort of big drill while he's here. So that's sort of expected. But the thing that you have to worry about is, if it is so expected, is it an opportunity? And will they do something different? Or will they escalate? Will they, take it further than they've ever taken it before to see if they can set off the other side? Or will they just use this as an opportunity to actually, proceed with whatever their plans are? I doubt it. I don't think that it really makes sense for them to launch at the same time. but it wouldn't surprise me to see, with such a high level of security, to see, some sort of skirmish easily escalate off of something like this. And that could then raise tension levels to start to kick things off.
And mind you, we have NK possibly doing a test launch, and then, of course, Xi possibly doing a drill in the South China Sea. These are both hot points. So we'll follow it as it goes along, and we'll see where it ends up going, if anywhere. Hopefully nowhere. And then Xi warns U.S. that a dangerous situation is forming over Taiwan. So it's kind of like, it's not the writing on the wall, the writing's on our faces. It says a top Xi diplomat warned the U.S. it is heading down the wrong road with its support for Taiwan. Comments accompanied by Beijing again sending military aircraft towards the island. If the U.S. side insists on playing the Taiwan card and goes further and further down the wrong road, it will certainly lead the situation to a dangerous point. It says Yang Jie said in a phone call with U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Okay, so first of all, I've said this before, and it's always these veiled threats. It's always these analogies like you're barking up the wrong tree, or it's almost like as if all of these countries have hired Dr. Phil to do their threats. I don't know. It just seems like it's on repeat. My point is most preppers look at this and say, okay, how many of these can they do before something does turn real? Over time, what has changed is the mass amounts of billions and trillions of dollars spent on building up these militaries that they will soon use. It's not always going to be a little proxy conflict, and I believe that because these world conflicts do happen every so long, and again, just to put this into perspective, the U.S. in particular, only 7% since we were declared a country, since the United States was formed, 7% has been outside of a conflict. 93 or 92% of it we have been in a conflict, a full-fledged conflict, a war. That's crazy to think about. So if you think we're not going to get into another massive one at some point after all these little proxies, I don't know what to tell you. The world is being divided 100%. If you think the people are being this far divided and there's not going to be something that happens above them, I don't know what to say. People have seen this coming for years and years. And the reason why people don't believe it is because they've heard it for so many years. But these things take decades to put together. And it only takes a few minutes to fall apart. It takes 30 seconds for any of this to fall apart. One action, one event can end it all. And we know this because it's almost come to that point and they've covered these things up. Classified, there have been missiles that have launched and been canceled. There have been close calls. At some point, it won't be a close call. And that's what preppers are getting ready for. All right, we've got our next call, Sandra, talking about the Nationals indicted, the Xi Nationals indicted in Eastern Washington on charges of hacking Hanford, which again, I will actually I'll ask my friend who worked there as a pipe fitter. Let's see here, see if they know anything after this call. So let's see here. Well, you get Sandra on the phone. I do want to remind you, if you do not know where to go for long-term survival food, we do have a resource for you. You can go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. When you go through this, you can get long-term survival food, MREs, that are sealed. And then again, depending on what package you get, the 1 month and the 3 month, those are sealed then in buckets as well. So they're double sealed and they're able to be stored for years. Again, this is a long-term survival food. They also have short-term survival food, but those long-term freeze-dried meals are just absolutely amazing. I think people would be blown away at the quality of them. But other than that, Again, this is something that people are doing to hedge against inflation. Some people are buying them just in case, a gallon of milk will go up to $150. That sounds crazy, but it's happened in other countries, and now we're heading kind of down this horrible path right now. So if you want to go over and go and get long-term survival food, if you go through this, you'll also be helping us as well, and you'll be getting $150 off on a 3-month supply if you end up going with that one. Also, they have iodine tablets. They have the Alexa Pure Pro, which is a professional gravity-fed filtration system for water. It's an amazing system. Again, if you don't trust what's in your water, I would highly recommend that. Also, it's just good for, in general, it's a big system. So you can end up filtering a lot of water all at a time. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just use my Brita. Well, if everything hits the fan, you're going to need more than a Brita. So again, make sure to go check that out. You can go and get the system. You can get extra filters. You can get all sorts of cool stuff over there. They also have survival gear. They have different gadgets. They have radios. They have battery power. They have all sorts of things. So make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/prep. A lot of people are, waiting. Again, make sure to use your responsible half of your brain and make sure to get your stuff done in real life first, and then take care of your long-term needs. This is incredibly, incredibly important to actually look at and think about. If it's not through this, then you need to think about what you're going to do as far as getting an extra can here, an extra gallon there. There are channels that can do it. If you don't have the monetary means to go get something like this, then all you need to do is take some time and learn how to do it yourself. It will take work, but it's possible. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. That is through My Patriot Supply, and it is an absolute great resource for anybody and everybody. But remember, they won't be delivering to your door after everything hits the fan. So don't wait until it's broken to fix it. All right, let's get Sandra on. Sandra is live talking about the G Nationals indicted in Eastern Washington hacking Hanford, which, by the way, we just had a weird Hanford incident not too long ago. Sandra.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, you're live.
I am. Hey, yeah, these people crossed my path. I am in Eastern Washington, and I was selling a house, and I had a couple people come over with their agent from the west side that translated for them. And they said, they were just interested in the house. And so I showed them the house. They looked at it for about 3 minutes, and all they wanted to really see was my big shop, insulated shop. And so they said they could tell from Google Earth I had a transformer, and they wanted to know if I could bump it up to 400 amps. So long story short, I checked with the public utility. I checked with the electrician. Yeah, I could. Anyway, and I said, oh, by the way, the PUD, the public utility, wanted them to sign the application. And they said, absolutely not. And I'm like, geez, you just made me go through all this work, to see if you could have more power in the shop. And I assumed it was for Bitcoin, or something like that. That's quite common over here. Anyway, so I told my son, I said, these people make me feel uncomfortable. And I didn't want to act like I wouldn't want somebody of another nationality to buy a house, but good grief. He sent me, it was about a half a year later after we sort of parted ways and these people bought another place. He sent me that article that Dex linked to you there that talked about it. So I had called the FBI. They made me feel uncomfortable. So I called the FBI and said, these two people crossed my paths, and I can, tell you the agent. And the gal on the phone says to me, you can't just call the FBI. And I'm like, well, who the heck am I supposed to call? It took me like 3 days to finally get a live body on the phone. Anyway, are you still with me? Because I feel like I'm just talking to myself here.
No, so by the way, I guess you might be coming to it later. So you were possibly selling the house. They said in the shop that was attached to the house, they're like, can this go up to 400 amps? Is that right? And you went through all this trouble.
They were wanting to
calling the electric company to see if you can get this massive amount of power in the shop, and they didn't want to sign it. So, and then you ended up calling FBI because you thought that these two may be the people from the article, or they are now?
Oh, I'm convinced they are. They had a picture of the man, not the woman. The man's name, Lee, is quite common, for this nationality. But the woman's name, I had to remember it by saying ding dong. I had to remember it that way. And so it's like, okay, I had these two people standing in my driveway wanting to do some sort of, Bitcoin or some sort of computer, something in the shop. They really didn't care about the house. They want to know what it would rent for. Anyway, so then when my son sent me that article from the Spokesman Review, I thought, well, I better call the FBI. They're looking for him. Apparently, they're supposed to be on the most wanted list. Now, I don't know if they are not. I didn't check it out further, but I called that agency and got kind of rebuffed, and I left them with some pretty fancy language of my opinion of them, and that's all I could do. And then I tried to call like Washington State, some places in Washington State. I called our county sheriff, who gave me, no help. They just said, call the 3-letter agency. And so then I called the Public Utility District. I thought, I wonder how many places in our county have had their, ampage brought up to 400 amp, at least that, to run servers. Anyway, they're not keeping track of it. And so a friend of mine that works in Virginia said she ran into somebody from the Department of Energy and she relayed my story to them, and they said, oh, I want to talk to her. If she ran across these people it wasn't just Hanford, it was other places too. And our location has a lot of the big Microsoft and some of those servers. Anyway, he says, oh, I can get your story to the top. I'll get it there. And then he cuts back to me and said, the agency is no longer interested in following this lead. And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of BSery is this? What is this? They didn't care? I don't know. What do you think?
I think you may have stumbled upon something that's bigger than you know. I think that I would just say be careful of what's going on. This sounds like some kind of, if it is what you say it is, it sounds kind of scary from a personal standpoint. I can't believe they told you that. But again, I don't know exactly what that phone call entailed, but so
yeah, I can't imagine that
they basically said, we're not interested in following any more leads, huh? Yeah,
just like they yawned at the whole idea that I had any of this information. And maybe it was too long ago, because it was the very beginning of 2020. An article came out about July, I believe. And so maybe by the time I called them, the lead was cold or something. I don't know. But if they've done it to one shop here, they have others. They're setting up. And now maybe it is just Bitcoin. Maybe that's what it was, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but maybe just because the names matched and the guy looked like that. But, I'm no investigator, that's for sure. But
so basically and again, we're talking about Hanford as a power plant.
Nuclear.
Yeah. And if there were other places in the country, I'm surprised that they don't, or maybe they just told you they don't keep track of it. If somebody goes into a house and wants to up the amperage, you would think, like, are they growing? Are they Bitcoin mining? Are they, they should have just an open answer. And the fact that they didn't want to sign it, that's kind of odd. Now, can I ask, were they talking about buying the house cash?
I don't know if it was cash, but they were not put off by the fact I was asking for $10,000 earnest money, non-refundable, because of the power work that I was going to have to do before it closed.
And that would be upping the amperage and all that.
Right. They had to put in a new pole, and they had to do some other work inside the shop and, things like that.
And they didn't tell you what
and
it
I
was
didn't
for?
want to put...
Or you didn't want to ask?
They didn't tell me why. No, they would not tell me why. They would only say no, they would not sign it. They wanted me to sign it, get all the work done, which I said, yes, I will sign it, but the PUD wants you to sign it also. And that agent just said they won't sign it. And I'm like, well, I guess they don't really want the house then. I just couldn't figure it out until I saw what my son sent me. See, at the time I was sort of oblivious to it, other than they made me feel uncomfortable. I just couldn't explain it, Sometimes you just get a gut feeling and you go with it.
Wow. Well, great. Again, I there's a lot of people watching, so who knows what will, people go out and digging and look at this. That's incredible. I just wonder why they didn't follow that, why they didn't. That it creeps me out, and I think most people are thinking the same thing I am. Again, when it's especially possibly related to power and everything else. So, well, thank you for calling. Thank you for calling in. Again, Sandra, what a crazy thing to be a part of.
Well, thanks for having me on, and I want to thank you for encouraging everyone to prep up because, we had our cherry blossoms snowed on, and it's farming territory over here, and it's been so cold, and it might be a dismal farming year. It's been a dismal gardening year, so I appreciate that you're getting people to prep up.
Well, I have good friends in Eastern Washington. Maybe at some point, if I hop over there and visit them, maybe we can all have an Eastern Washington meetup. I would really enjoy to meet you guys. And thank you, Sandra. I appreciate you.
All right, that would be awesome. Have a good night.
All right, you have a good day. I think some of this, if I'm pretty sure the sharp ones in the audience are, that's scary. It's scary to even have that. Be safe is right. Dex.
So just so I understand it correctly, it was a 6-month gap between when she was trying to go into a contract with these people and then they show up being indicted for hacking. I would set aside the whole notion of crypto and think, if they're doing something like that, they may be needing power for server farms to do other things, especially if you're, being indicted for hacking Hanford. That's a big deal.
I don't know, man. That's there's certain things where you're like, what scares me is that they were like, we're no longer following this, we're going to get it to the very top. And then they come back and they're like, this is the end of the road. Like they went up to the top and they were like, just be quiet. Anyways. That's... yeah, speechless to say the least. Sometimes, we just don't know what's going to happen. It's a live show, and we get these calls, and I'm like just blown away. There's so many different kinds of people watching from all over the country. If there's an average of anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 watching every day, and it's like you just don't know the kind of stuff you're going to get. I would almost say call project or whatever. But, they want videotapes and audio. We had something that we could have brought, like, it was huge back when an event happened in the Midwest. Did that just cut out? But we could not do anything about it, and they needed like audio tapes. All right, let's see here. Bible Talk 777. First pox symptom is sore bottom. Really? That's weird. Jay Olson, thank you for subscribing. Mark Lestarge says, thank you, Adam, Dex, Mods, and Foogle fam for all you do. Survival Living, hey, what's going on, brother? Thank you for your support. You know you don't have to do that. And again, thank you. I just shouted you out a few minutes ago. Ted Hamblin, thank you. Bible Talk 777. They messed with the wrong monkey. It's like the 80s all over again. I want my MTV. Yeah, don't you wish MTV was still MTV? Another thing that I want to point out, if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, you should probably go watch it. It is a comedy, but it is extremely shocking. It's kind of like the horror movies or the fictional, 1984s that predicted all these other things. Once you watch Idiocracy, it's really scary in a funny type of way, because if you look at what's happening, like how they sit there and watch, and there's one show on all the networks and it's Ow My Balls, and it's just a guy getting kicked in the balls. It's funny, right? But then you're like, wow, it's kind of getting that point. MTV is now ridiculousness, like probably 10 hours out of the day. It's gotten to the point where these networks have found whatever show that people will just sit and watch, and they're shameless about it. They don't have like programming. They have one show for 12 hours. It's like what it used to happen. Like if they had it's a ridiculousness marathon, only it's every day. If you guys know what I'm talking about, if you watch, it's either Catfish or Ridiculousness on MTV. That's it. And I think there's two MTVs. So one is Catfish and one is Ridiculousness. And in fact, the Ridiculousness guy, whatever the host is, he is basically like run MTV. They've allowed him to like run chunks of it, right? There's no more music videos. There's no more none of that. It's just ridiculousness. So internet videos took over MTV. Music television is now run over by internet videos of comedy videos. Like that doesn't make any sense, but they don't care because people watch it and they just keep watching. If you look at A&E or one of those, it used to be the History Channel is almost all like paranormal or ghost stories, and same with A&E. A&E is like ghost hunting. It's like 24/7, but there's no more like history documentaries. There's no more any of that on TV. We are getting stupider, and stupider is not a word, by the way. I've been watching too much ghost hunting, but you know what I mean. And it's like every network has their show, their go-to show, and that's it. It's scary how everything is going down that pathway where it's just the bottom line is the bottom line, and that's it. And you don't think, since the corporations are involved in all parts of the government, you don't think that that's why everything is happening the way it is? It's scary, and they don't care about us. Deadly serious. U.S. quietly urging Taiwan to follow UKR playbook for countering Xi. It says, yet Beijing is also learning lessons from Vlad's botched invasion. It says U.S. officials are pushing their Taiwanese counterparts with new urgencies to look at UKR's success in fending off Vlad forces as a blueprint for countering a Xi attack. Former and current U.S. officials tell Political. Okay, so one thing I don't see, though, is if Xi really wanted to take Taiwan, they could just take it in a day. Again, are we looking at, is this going to happen the same way with Taiwan, where they just like kind of go up on an island or something and like go and then pull back and go and pull back? And then is there going to be worldwide news of Taiwanese, heroes pushing back the battle or something? First of all, Xi could take that island. It's only 100 miles away from their coastline. They have plenty of boats. They have the largest navy in the world. They could take that island in seconds. I would say, realistically a day, right? I don't get it. Oh, and Practical Jokers. Yes. That show is on 24/7. Corporate America. Yeah. And Naked and Afraid. Yes. The Bitter Critter. That's another one. Every show, every channel has their show. It's incredible. It's like 24/7. Well, where are the documentaries? Well, they're over on Netflix. See, to compete with Netflix, this is so messed up. With Netflix and the online platforms where you actually do watch these things, to compete, they literally could not compete by showing different content. So they just show you, they're just like throwing Hail Marys. They're like, well, people watch Naked and Afraid and they'll watch it all day. Let's put it on there. It's scary. So do you see the point, the kind of connection to Ow My Balls? It's just like over and over again. Dex.
Yeah, well, Netflix created the whole notion of binge watching, right? When they came out, it was like all of a sudden you could, a season would come out and you could watch 12 episodes back to back all weekend long. And that sort of changed the dynamics where people just got hooked on that. And I think that's why these cable channels have just said, okay, well, we'll run, Friends from episode 1 to season 12 or whatever it is all the way through every day. And, and they'll do that with all these other shows so that people get that binge watch feeling. It's kind of crazy what Americans are doing with, that kind of content.
Make It Happen says TV was way better in the 90s. I agree. Even the ads, if you go, there's tons of them on YouTube. You can go look at 90s ads. They were just the 80s ads. All had now ads. Look at ads now. Now they have to check all these boxes to be correct, right? Nobody's going to watch 2020 ads in 2050 and go, oh my gosh, this is so... Oh, this is when our system fell apart. Maybe that's what they'll do. But back in the day, I mean, they had the weirdest ads in the 90s. When I was growing up, the toy ads were just hilarious. Just nuts. But yeah, the binge watching, Dex, you're totally right. You've noticed it too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, and to me, MTV is like the channel you watch in between the commercials you don't want to watch on another channel. It's like, you can always go watch, Rob Dyrdek and see Daredeck and see, stupid internet videos for a few minutes while you're waiting on the commercial on the other channel.
Yeah. It's sad. It's really sad. Yeah. Wide Awake and Angry says true. I know, it's crazy. Cognitive woke ads are boring AF. So woke ads literally put you to sleep. Yes, you know what? Somebody could compile woke ads into a service. You could actually pay $9.99 for woke ads plus premium, of course. It's $7.99 for woke ads regular. But if you go for the extra $9.99, the extra $2, then you'll get woke ads premium plus. That's on-demand woke ads at any time, any day to put you to sleep. I think we got an idea, Dex. Let's put it together. All right, and then let's see here. We've got struggling with UKR. Vlad paves way to sign up over 40s for Army. I don't know if this is true, but over 40-year-olds being brought in. It seems like they're like throwing people to the front lines that disposable. I don't know. It seems like it. If this is true, they're saving their best for last. That's what I think. That's just a theory here. It says, in a sign of Vlad's urgent need to bolster its conflict effort in UKR, Parliament said on Friday it would consider a bill to allow Vladians over 40 and foreigners over 30 to sign up for the military. So they're saying even if you're, say, a U.S. citizen that's staying there, you could actually sign up for conflict against UKR. And now if you're over 30, you can do it. The website of State Duma, Parliament's lower house, said that the move would enable the military to utilize the skills of older professionals. Now, that does kind of make sense as far as maybe bring back some vets, I guess. But for the use of high-precision weapons, the operation of weapons and military equipment, highly professional specialists are needed. Experience shows that they become such by the age of 40 to 45. Huh. So you want the guys that basically were around at the beginning of PCs, right? I guess. Currently only Vlads aged 18 to 40 and foreigners aged 18 to 30 can enter the first contract with the military. Vlad has suffered huge setbacks and heavy losses of men and equipment in the 86-day-old conflict, in which UKR has mobilized practically its entire adult male population. Despite taking full control of the ruins of Mariupol, Moscow remains far from its objective of seizing all of the Donbass region in eastern UKR. Clearly, the Vladians are in trouble. This is the latest attempt to address manpower shortages without alarming their own population. Okay, so first of all, so actually that is coming from Vlad. So that's coming from his country's parliament. This is one thing, though. You'll see in this next piece. Look at where it comes from, okay? Every piece of information is coming out of UKR and the entire world. If you go to Switzerland, Germany, Australia, Europe, UK, whatever, Canada, all of the news that they're getting about this conflict is coming from one side. Specifically from UKR journalists, right? It says, Vlad claims to have used laser weapons on the battlefield in UKR, although the U.S. says it's seen no evidence of this, and UKR has derided it as propaganda. It says, Yuri Borisov, the deputy prime minister in charge of military development, and that's again for UKR, told Vladian TV that told TV that laser prototype called Zadira was being deployed in UKR and had burned up a Ukrainian drone within 5 seconds at a distance of 3 miles. This was in addition a previous laser system called Persevet, named after a medieval Orthodox warrior monk, which could be used to dazzle satellites orbiting high above Earth and prevent them from gathering information. Now remember, Persevet is what we covered the other night as far as it's a laser that could blind satellites at if they were within that range. It says if Persevet blinds, then the new generation of laser weapons lead to the physical destruction of the target. Thermal destruction, they burn up, Mr. Borisov said. However, an official with the U.S. Department of Defense said he had not seen anything to corroborate the reports of lasers being used in UKR. Meanwhile, UKR President Vladimir Zelensky mocked the claim, comparing it to the so-called wonder weapons that NAZI Germany claimed to be developing during WW2, which, by the way, sorry about that, guys. Which, by the way, those wonder weapons, I believe some of them, there were some really crazy ones that not a lot of people knew about. So it says, and we see in the third month of a full-scale conflict that Vlad is trying to find its wonder weapons. This all clearly shows the complete failure of the mission. Now, remember, all of the information coming out about this is, again, from basically one side. This is actually, they're saying that we have no evidence of that, but that's based on the evidence that we're getting from UKR government officials. In a second here, we're going to get, let's see here. We're going to get Matt on the phone here in just a second. But before we do, Sarah B., thank you for your PayPal. It says, love you guys, love Foogle fam and Dex. Thank you. All right, and then KREC78, Meepup 007, Comet Moon. Powers that be are the ones responsible for everything. Yes, I don't think that can even be argued. Jay Rockin, thank you for gifting 5 badges out to the channels. It says Infidel, Mama Wolf 73, PT, thank you. Wes 84, Priscilla R, Carrie Ray, Mateo, thank you so much. Kishara says the Fahauche was part of AIDS testing, now pox. That's what I pointed out a couple days ago. I mean, it's nuts. It's a very similar thing, especially since the kind of people that are getting it. And then Lisa K23, learn something. Old seeds do not grow well. Actually, I believe I knew that from a couple years ago. I tried to grow old watermelon seeds, and they just wouldn't go. Cab7 Ben, hey, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Cab7, I don't know if you're here. You're probably streaming by now because you're always streaming. I really thank you for supporting other creators. You basically pass on everything to other creators. And again, you know that we do the same. Thank you so much. Again, love you. Thank you, Cab7. I'll be returning that. Release the Quackin'. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Finally ordered my Flex 1500 silver kit. Thanks, Marv and mods, for all you do. Kimbria, you're going to love it. It's awesome. Again, Energy is running my entire studio right now, so it's a really cool system, and I am super, super happy to have one. Lisa K23 released the Quacken, Chance Paladin, R. Tate, Spartano Negative, Vicky K, and of course Zippy Moons. All right, let's get Matt on. Matt is again going to be coming on here. Matt.
Hey, Adam, I'm having a little technical difficulty. Give me one more minute or less.
Okay. Well, you're getting Matt on. I do want to remind you right now, if you do want to protect yourself against an EMP, again, electromagnetic pulse or a CME, you can go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Right now, you can get $50 off on every device. And again, that's per device. So you can get one for your car, 2 for your cars, 1 for your generator, 1 for your RV, 1 for your solar system. Again, they make a device for pretty much anything that you want to keep running after EMPs. Again, it will actually go through multiple pulses from an EMP. Again, all 3 phases, E1, E2, and E3. And it can protect you against the natural kind, the CMEs, a Carrington Level Plus event. This is the same company that is being used by agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. If you go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP, not only will you get that discount, you will also be helping our channel as well. They essentially give us a commission and you a discount. That way everyone wins. You get something physical out of it that may save your life. Specifically, though, they also make an energy protector. Now, somebody said yesterday that it's built in. No, you couldn't physically do that, but EMP Shield makes an in and an out. So it is an EMP Shield that actually protects both in and out of the generator. That way, that is going to be safe after any kind of event. So definitely go look at that. When you go to Energy, you can, again, look for that kit. Or you can go to EMP Shield if you already have the Flex 1500. You can go and get it from EMP Shield. All right, and then Dex, do we have Matt?
Yes, Matt is live.
Matt, you're live on Marfoogle News. What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. So I guess you have something to say first off.
Yeah, definitely. I saw where your video about James Munder, and I just really hate that because I used to watch him years ago, and he disappeared. I couldn't find him or anything like that. But yeah, I just feel like he felt like he had some issues, but I know that he had a big heart. Really, he really cares about people. So. My main thing I'm calling about today is about the farming and about all of this farming, our food and livestock's getting destroyed. And I just want to ask, how can this really be happening when I know I'm in North Carolina and I know farmers and they don't take nothing usually from especially the government. And I just think, how could we be bought off so easily like that? I don't know.
Money, and I get what you're saying, basically that farmers don't take nothing from nobody. And how are they selling? Well, if you think about it, if they're a family and they've got kids, or if they're, been struggling for years, their fields have been messed up. Think about this. If you've had this freak weather for the last 5 years and your farm is going kaput, you're about to go bankrupt, and then somebody like Mr. Gates comes along and says, hey, I'll pay you 4 times what your farm is worth, just hand it right over, they're of course going to take it. They're $500,000 or $100,000 or $1 million farm. They go, here, we'll give you $4 million. They're thinking, well, we're going to retire and we don't have to worry about it anymore, right? Well, think about it.
Right.
What if you controlled the reason why the farm wasn't doing well? Just a thought. But yeah.
True. Yeah. Yeah, because, farmers are usually on their own. I mean, you're out in the country. You're not in a city where you can get with people. I mean, farmers do have, neighbors and things like that. But, yeah, they're just doing the best they can. But it just reminds me of, like, when the CV hit and the churches started closing down. And it's like, I don't know. I think it.
How did they do that? People took it.
Yeah, people did take it. And it's like, when are we not going to stop taking it? I mean, it's like, come on. I mean,
I never understood.
Enough's enough.
I never understood how they were able to shut down a single church. I don't understand it.
Like exactly, like the guy from the guy that was in the news just recently about I think it was Louisiana, it's Baton Rouge. He won the case. They were trying to shut him down like every Sunday and like threaten him and stuff. But it was the governor who was like trying to shut him down, and he went to court, Supreme Court of Louisiana, and he won that case. And it's like, it's our First Amendment right to meet. It's like, why didn't all these other churches know that? Like, I mean, come on. I wonder if it's because of 501c3 or what, I
don't know. And it was, there were, by the way, there were places that did, there were places that actually did very clever things. I think that they even had, what was it? Somebody actually held church in a grocery store or something, and somebody else, like they rented a grocery store out or something. There were some interesting ones that we ended up covering when that was all going down.
Yes.
There was a couple of things I'm trying to remember. If people in chat want to say, there were a lot of interesting ways that people continued church through it. They went to like essential places, or they went. I swear I remember something about even like doing it in a adult gentleman's club or something because they were somehow deemed essential or something. But yeah,
that's.
I hope it never happens again.
We found a way, right?
Yes, exactly.
I know, because we really had to stand up for our First Amendments and things like that, because of course the May 22nd thing, we're giving our sovereignty over to the World Health Organization, and they'll be able to take care, control, like if another pandemic thing happens, and they'll be able to control that and tell us what to do, and that's not good.
Well, that's in 2 days from now. That's why we've been pointing it out and getting people over to the website and making sure that everybody knows about it. Well, and also we have other things popping up too. Right now, I think tomorrow is the last day. They're doing radiological drills. They're doing all sorts of different practices. They're doing that G7, of course, practice and drills. So everybody needs to keep their eyes open and their head on a swivel.
Exactly. Yes. And just one last thing. I'm going to keep it short. I saw a thing. It was actually a YouTube ad. It was talking about investing in robotics for fast food. Like they want people to invest in that. So it's happening. It's starting to take shape. They're taking away all the jobs.
Well, and there was an investment commercial just like that for a Kickstarter company that they said that they were public and they're going private or something, and it was the last week to invest in a lawnmower that's a remote control AI lawnmower, and it essentially does your whole thing by itself. So you think about it, you buy that, and all of the lawn and maintenance people that mow lawns, they're out of the picture now because everybody's going to have these robots doing a precision job cutting their huge lands. And by the way, this one's for big farms and things. It would just go out and do it instead of hiring somebody to cut your lawn or them doing it themselves. They'll have these robots doing it. It's just another all of these jobs that you could actually just make a living at, or even be quite successful if you have the right clients. Those jobs are being cut out by robots and drones. So yeah, Matt, I totally hear you, and it's only going to get worse. So that's why people need to pay attention and figure out a plan of what they're going to do when it does happen.
Yep, exactly. Well, it's good to talk to you for being a first-time caller. So thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you. And again, it's your first time call. Don't make it your last. That was Matt. Again, thank you, Matt. And all of the information from the callers will be over on the website. Hodgepodge says, peace, love, and Jesus Christ. Much love. Plant extra everything. Thank you, Hodgepodge. I appreciate that. Especially love. Plant extra everything, especially love. That one girl, it was my birthday yesterday, and I tested positive for the... well, I'm sorry. That's not a very good birthday present. But I am absolutely sure that that you will be taken care of and that you will be fine, and praying for you. Bill Brown, thank you so much. Bible Talk 777, I appreciate you. Thank you, says, again, that sore bottom. Mark Lestarge, again, thank you. Spartacus 41, I believe I missed you. Zenwen AZ, thank you. Irish Rebel, thank you so much for your support. Massive support of the show, Irish Rebel. Bible Talk 777, they messed with the wrong monkey. It's, again, thank you. Susan Donahue, again, thank you for being here for 4 years now. I appreciate you. Scenic Adventures, thank you. Blue Dazzlebug and Cat Russell, Ninja Squirrel, Marianne Spinelli, all of the supporters from last show. I thank you, and I thank you. Over on D-Live, all the D-Live crew, thank you guys for sticking with us, and thank you for making it a positive place. Make sure to thank your mods, especially people like Gem and Chance Paladin, and of course Wonder Woman, and over on D-Live, and then over on YouTube. Make sure to thank everybody: Jay Stone, Trinity, CJ Blaze, Bones, Rip Curl, and everybody else that has made it in. Alish, I believe, needs prayers still. And then, of course, there are several people that are really struggling right now. Trinity is actually the first one, or one of the few first people to message me about James Munder. She did a lot of kind of research along with Jay Stone and everybody else that has that information. If you have questions about James, my mods know more than I do, because they were really digging before I even knew about it. So just want to do a quick moment of silence for James Munder. Dex, if you would like to go over the web-only content, we have a lot and a little bit of time.
Absolutely, Adam. And so head over to marfooglenews.com and click on that thumbnail for the show. Scroll down to web only. That's where you'll find the rest of the story. Everything else we couldn't cover. Too far to one side, too hot for TV, whatever you want to call it, it's there. Find out who's been, I guess, denied from going to receive communion at church. That's kind of big news coming out there. Lots going on with the former First Lady who ran for president. That case continues to expand, and it's going to be continuously covered there. A gentleman who was in Congress who you probably know was getting a lot of scandalous things on him. He's now coming out and making some statements. Find out more about that, and a whole lot more, even things from Facebook that it's happening, and find out what it looks like in Xi's land when you have to go to the place you got to go when you're not feeling good. They just line you up and ship you out. So go take a look. That and so much more. It's all there. It's the rest of the story. It's almost a show, if not 2 shows worth of content. Go take a look. MarfoogleNews.com. Click on the thumbnail for today's show. Scroll down to web-only content. And if you're on YouTube, it's even easier. Just open that description and click on show notes.
And by the way, we have also linked, you can watch my video on it. Also, I linked Grand Supreme News, did an RIP James Munder video. That is right here. This is...
My name is Louis. Today is May 20, 2022.
If you haven't seen Louis is a great guy. Make sure to go over. Again, he did a video on it as well, so we've linked his video so you can go over and subscribe. And then, yes, he has the article in there, and I just saw a lot of people just discovered of his passing right now. So he did get in a car accident. They believe it was off 405 by the LAX airport, and there were 2 cars or 3 cars involved. As far as the article knows so far, that one of the cars was on its roof, but from confirmation from many of his friends, his mods, and then possibly his best friend talking to his father, that he has passed. So again, I am hoping there's so many sources saying that it is true. It's really a slight chance, but I am still praying that there's some mistake, or they thought, but again, I don't want to give anybody false hope. So he has been part of the YouTube community for a long time. He's had his ups, he's had his downs. He was actually quite a large YouTuber before they took a lot of his content down. K-Grace, James Munder passed. So I make sure I get Luis's face off there, because Luis is fine. Yeah. Somebody said 405 is usually very safe. I mean, there's no highway that's technically safe. I mean, yeah. Yeah. And my wife said, I tried calling and it goes to voicemail. In fact, yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad. It's very, sad that when I first called, hearing his voice. Now I don't think it's even going to voicemail.
Hi, you've reached James Munder and Munder One Productions. Please leave me a quick, detailed message and don't forget your phone number. Thank you. Have a good day.
I hope they keep that up for a while. Praying for his family and for his father and for everybody else that was close to him. I don't know if he was dating somebody right now, but yeah. He had so much. He was a very talented and funny guy. So praying for him. Love you guys. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. I hope it goes to the very top, to the very tippy top. Oh, yo, you already know. Love, sweet love. I hope it goes to the very top, to the very tippy top. Oh, yo, you already know. Remember, you can join us over on Marfoogle Jams. Sweet love, I hope it goes to the very top, Robert House, Jason 78, and EMP Proud. Deep oh nah, everybody gonna be peaceful now. Everybody gonna be okay. Missy Jammer 1 and Eco Buster, Florida Patriot 71. We miss you. The top to the very tippy top. Oh yo, you already know. Fade away, bumpy do. But there's on 78. I'm foraging with Justin Michael. Whoa. Frustrated scratch, April Rose, living with A-A-Z. Me. Preston Martin and the summer were never forgotten. Oh, yo, you already know. Love, sweet love, I hope it goes to the very top. The top, to the very tippy. Monday can't be real. I'm tapping doors and everybody feel all peaceful warrior there. Me and no love you all. Any day could be our last, so that's why we gotta have a blast. Share it by and why, and a bit of windows to bring it down. Joy for DGD, I said I clogs done, and no pop back, man. No Billy, Mr. Man, 23 and more, Planet X Watcher. Modded and now I fell asleep and I stink with Shiffy. I'm pulling the cokes and I live by the sea. D-Love, I bring back and I. Guns and water. Same with AZ. Knowledge 2020. And Scott from OZ. I said, oh.